Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Gavin from Balls to You, and as the title suggests, this is going to be a process video, which is obviously going to be part of the breeding cycle of the videos that I've been doing. So this is another little add-on sort of video. The reason why I'm doing these in sections is because breeding isn't just this and this. Okay, there's a lot of factors that are involved. There's a lot of things you need to be looking at. There's a lot of things you need to be aware of. You know, this is why, you know, a lot of people aren't very successful with breeding, because they don't look at the finer details. And what I want to try and do, I want to try and get these videos across as in much detail as possible to help you guys try and understand your animals and also have a successful breeding season yourself. So let's get into it. The process. The process is normally sort of this. Start in November and you finish in March, breeding that is, and then you get eggs April, May, June, July time. Okay. This is how it tends to go, and this is what most people class as a breeding season. I can tell you categorically that there is no breeding season. And the reason why I say that is because I've had females, if there was a breeding season, then your breeding season, you wouldn't be breeding any snakes outside of that season. So between November and March, you wouldn't be having clutches. So again, a breeding season is very, it can be interpreted in one way as good, or as in another way as bad. As in, like, 1 minute you can think it's only a 5-month gap, and then the next minute you think, well, my female's not gone, I'm done breeding, breeding season's done. This isn't the case. Let's just start from the process. The process is you start typically in November. Okay, don't ask me why. That tends to be obviously when most of the cooling, you start to cool your temperatures down for those who cool. I used to drop my temperatures. I don't anymore, because I keep my room and my racks at a comfortable temperature, and I can't really tell you guys what to do with your animals, because your room and your setup is completely different to mine. So there's no point me trying to tell you how I do mine regarding temperatures, because my room is different to yours. You need to find your room and have your room so you can control it. Okay, so let's say that at the end of November, beginning of December, you're going to put your male in with your female. You put the male in with the female, I tend to say 48 hours. Okay, and you should see a lock. If you open that tub and the male hasn't locked, but he's lying on top of the female, or he's trying to line up the tail, I will tend to give him an extra day or two on top of the 48 hours, just to see if he, does eventually get there. Because don't forget, some females and males, this may be your first breeding season, but it will also be their first breeding season. So you have to allow a bit of give and take. Okay, so this is what I do then. So once they've locked and they've unlocked, I then put the male back into his tub. Okay, and then obviously I'll go back and I feed him, and just on his regular feeding pattern. Okay, and I won't put that male back in with that female for another 3 to 4 weeks, so he has a good rest. Okay, you want that male fed, rested and replenished, and we're talking sperm replenished. Okay, so again, your female, if she's mature enough and ready, because what we're going to assume is that your male and female are ready. Okay, your female has got 2 lines of follicles. She will keep one at an optimum size just in case a male comes along. And guess what? You've just put a male in, so a male has come along. Them follicles tend to be around about 5 to 10 millimeters. Let's say, again, this is a guideline. Okay, this isn't gospel data. This is a guideline, because every animal is different. So let's say they're about 5 to 10 millimeters. Okay, so You've put a male in, she's seen there's a male, she now knows she's got to grow her follicles, and the only way she's going to do that is through the fat reserves. If she's not got enough fat, she will pound the food. Okay, the food feeds the female, but then the fat cells feed the follicles. So without the food, you're not going to feed the follicles. Okay, so feed the follicles. So the next locking session comes along, which is 3 to 4 weeks after the first original lock, and guess what, now your female is pounding food. Okay, and then follicles are starting to grow. Okay, they will grow on typically around about 5mm to 10mm every month. Again, this is a guideline, this isn't gospel data, this is a guideline. Okay, so the process from the start of the breeding to when you get a clutch of eggs on the ground, or when she ovulates, let's say, when she ovulates, is normally about 4 to 5 months. Okay, then what tends to happen is, obviously, she'll ovulate, she'll go through the shedding process and give you a clutch of eggs. So she will grow her follicles small amounts every month. Okay, and then what happens is, around about 25mm, she will glow. And this is when they get flushed with colour and they look like a hypo. Okay, and they just look absolutely stunning. Now, at that stage, it's the glow before they go, and that is the point for the female of no return. So she needs to make sure that everything, up until the glow, everything is bang on. And this is your critical time. You need to get everything in that timeline between the 25mm and the beginning of the breeding session. You need to get everything bang on. Okay. Now, she's going to grow them follicles every month. So let's say she's got 5mm follicles in the beginning. Okay, so you've started breeding at the beginning of December or the end of November. So you've got December, that's 10mm, January 15mm, February 20mm. Come March, because this is when obviously the breeding season, or people think the breeding season stops, is in March. Your female looks awesome, you think she's going to go, and guess what, you stop breeding. Then that female is going to regress because she's not seeing the male about, and because, as I've said, the conditions have to be bang on. If there's not the right conditions, she's going to stop and regress. So for that reason, your female now isn't going to go. Okay, because you've stopped putting the male in. The male triggers the follicle growth, food triggers the follicle growth, conditions trigger the follicle growth. All them three things are major keys in the development and the success of your breeding. So that tends to be the process, and that tends to be the shut-off point in March, April time, when people just stop putting the males in and the females just don't go. What I'm going to suggest is you don't stop. As long as your males and females are healthy and the males are still feeding and they're not losing weight, then keep breeding. Like I said, I tend to put the male in every 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, and he has a good break, he replenishes himself, he gets fed, he gets rested, and he's good to go. Okay, if you are seeing signs, and this is again going back to the other video where you've got to know your animal, this is what knowing your animal is all about. If you see your female progressing and obviously going in the right direction, and it's coming up to March and you're panicking, you think, oh, you know, the breeding season's coming to an end. It's not coming to an end, guys. Just keep doing it. Okay, just keep putting that male in with a female every 3 to 4 weeks, and you will get a clutch of eggs. Okay, you need to be you need to be a bit sharp. You need to think, you need to understand your animals. Okay, and this will give you greater success in breeding. I can tell you a situation. My next female that's due to drop clutch of eggs on the 12th of December, I started breeding her in November last year, and this is what happened. I started breeding her, everything was going well, Okay, she was locking, she was feeding, she was hammering food, she was like a boa, she was going crazy for food. Fed loads, she's probably put on easily, she probably easily put on 1,500 grams, easily. Okay, she was going through the building stage, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, she didn't want to go. She started to regress. So them follicles that she was growing went backwards, and she basically went off food for a few months. What actually happened was the male, she was seeing the male, that was fine. She was getting the feeding, that was fine. The temperatures were bang on because the rest of the females were laying. So again, if the temperatures were wrong, then none of the females would lay. So the temperatures and the conditions were right for her. The problem was the follicles that she was growing. Now bear in mind, a female has 2 lines of follicles. The follicles that she decided to grow, she wasn't happy with. There was something wrong with them where she felt that maybe there weren't enough, or there were too many, or they weren't strong enough. So basically she took it upon herself to stop what she was doing and regress. Now if I hadn't have continued with the breeding process, okay, I probably wouldn't have had a clutch of eggs off her. But what she decided to then do was grow the other line of follicles, and guess what, them line of follicles were strong and healthy. Okay, so then she went back on food, she was still locking, she was still breeding, and guess what, virtually 12 months on, and I'm getting a clutch of eggs off her. So what I'm trying to say is, the only time your females won't produce is if the conditions aren't right, or if she isn't happy with what's going on inside her. Okay, so that's something you need to bear in mind. Again, this all comes down to looking at your animals. You've got to know your animals, you've got to know what they're doing, you've got to understand how they are. If something's a bit weird for that particular female, is it a good weird or is it a bad weird? Well, you won't know that unless you know your animals. Okay, so the breeding season is what I'm trying to get at. It's down to you and your animals. If your snake is still eating and still breeding and still healthy enough, then just keep doing it, guys. It's not going to hurt them. It's just that they're developing at different rates, and we haven't all got, ultrasound machines. We don't, we can't open the snake up and have a look and see what's going on. So this is again where you have to know your snake and sort of understand what's going on. The other thing I want to address is people saying that they have problems breeding females at 2 years of age, that they seem to get nothing but slugs. Well, I can tell you now, a female at 2 years of age, if she's producing slugs, she wants to produce eggs. And the reason why she's produced slugs is because you have done something wrong. And I don't mean that to hound or put the blame on people, but as breeders you've got to get the conditions right for you to have a successful clutch. If your conditions aren't right, then obviously you're going to get slugs. If a female wasn't ready to produce eggs, she wouldn't produce slugs. Why would she put all that effort and time into growing them follicles to just produce slugs? Okay, there's no slugs found in the wild. So the only answer to that is we, as breeders, have got our conditions wrong, or what we're doing is wrong. Then you've got some people who say females only, they only tend to breed for me at 3 years of age. Well, obviously 3 years of age, that female is a bit more mature and she knows a bit more. So what she will probably do is keep herself cooler. The reason why she's produced slugs is through 2 reasons. One, she hasn't saw a male, so there's no male to replenish her sperm. And 2 is because the sperm inside her has died, and the reason for that is probably because the temperatures are too hot, or you're keeping your snakes too warm. So the one sort of relates to the other, whereas if your temperatures were warm, then obviously you've got to put your male in more to replenish the sperm, because the sperm will die if it's too hot. That's why the sperm or the male's balls are on the inside, because they're cold-blooded animals. It keeps them cooler. Okay, so if your temperatures are too high and your snakes or your females can't get off the hot end into the cool end and the ambient air temperature is too high, it's going to kill that sperm, which is fine, but you need to replenish that sperm to give viable eggs. Okay, I'm sorry if I'm teaching people to suck eggs, sorry, pardon the pun, but it is common sense. If that female at 2 years of age is producing slugs, she's not going to do it for the hell of it. She wants to produce eggs, but because you as a breeder haven't got it right, that's why you've got slugs. I hate to break it to you, but that's the truth. Okay, I've bred a female at 18 months of age at 1100 grams. Now that wasn't me dictating what she did, she was dictating to me what she wanted to do. She went off food, she wanted nothing, she was interested, she was at the front of the tub. She was at the front of the tub at night looking about, offered her food, offered her all types of food, didn't want to know. Put a male in there, bang, straight away locked. Within an hour she was locked. Took the male out, she went like a boa. She started to pound food. She put on 700 grams in between when she started breeding to when she laid eggs. After she laid eggs, her weight was back at 1100 grams. Okay, 18 months of age, 6 perfect eggs. In the incubator, not a problem. Bang, clutch of babies, beautiful babies. So the age thing and the weight thing, we have to take with a bit of pinch of salt, because ultimately we have to listen to them snakes, because not one snake is different. But not one snake is the same, sorry. Every snake is different. But what you will get is people who say, I have trouble breeding my females at 2 years of age. You shouldn't have problems breeding at 2 years of age, guys. If you're having slugs, if you're getting slugs, then that's down to you and your conditions. Okay, guys? Plain and simple. In the wild, they don't find slugs. Okay, and in the wild, the females wouldn't be walking around with a pair of scales and a calendar looking and watching how heavy she is and when her birth date is. It's down to sexual maturity for the female and the male. Okay, if they're sexually mature and they're ready, they will give you a clutch of eggs. If they're giving you slugs, then ultimately, guys, it's down to you. So, bit of common sense there. Okay, so that's that. I got asked as well, why do females go off food when they're going through the breeding cycle? There's a couple of factors for this, and this is because their fat cells or fat reserves feed the follicles. Okay, so they'll go through a stage of banging food down so they can get as fat as they can, as quick as they can, because all the time these follicles are growing. Okay, and these follicles are growing and taking up room, and there's only one object that can take up a space at any one time. Okay, so you've got to imagine they've got a short window to pack on as much weight as possible before them follicles sort of start to go and take over the lower half of the body, before they can start fitting food down there alongside the follicles. So their mentality is to get as fat as they can, and when I say fat, they don't suffer with obesity. I'm just talking about getting enough fat reserves so that when them follicles get to a certain size, they haven't got to worry about food because they've got fat reserves. So that's the reason why they go off food. Okay, it's nothing to do with hormonal or anything like that. It's literally to do with they can't fit a rat and follicles in the same area. Okay, they can't do it. So I'll bet you if you offer them a smaller prey like I have done in the past, they'll take it. Okay, but you offer them the standard prey size that you've been normally giving them, they just won't have it. That's why I tend to feed African soft-furred rats, because they are smaller than rats, and you guys know what I feel about African soft-furred rats compared to rats in general. So I hope this helps. A little bit of more information. A few key things you need to remember: temperatures, regular introduction of the male into the female. Humidity helps, make sure your humidity is high. When you put the male in, just tip over the water bowl, okay, and make it really humid, because you'll probably find when you wake up in the morning they've already tipped the water bowl over. Okay, so just tip it up, raise the humidity. Make sure you've got an abundance of food. Okay, and just because it's March or April time doesn't mean you've got to stop breeding. Just keep breeding, keep going through the cycle. As long as they're holding their weight or putting weight on or feeding, just keep doing it, guys. It will give you a good clutch of eggs and you will be successful. Okay, hope this little video helps. Hope I've got some pointers across and I've answered a few questions. We have got a clutch of eggs, or I've got 3 clutches actually hatching out as, sorry, not hatching, shedding out as we speak. So I'll be doing an update video on them. I'm also going to be doing a dinker video because a lot of people who are new to the hobby don't quite understand what a dinker is. So I'll be doing a dinker video on some of the dinker projects that I've produced and that I'm starting to prove out, just to show you exactly what that's all about. And again, we've got another clutch that's cooking at the minute, and we've got 2 more that are about to be laid. So it's all going on still. We're going to have some Christmas babies. So it's the start of December, so it's all good, everyone. Okay, hope you're all well. Thanks for all your support, guys. I really do appreciate it. All your comments down below is fantastic. I try and answer and speak to and reply back to as many comments as I can, because I really do appreciate it. Okay, everyone, hope you're all well, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Take care.